Hi there, students. Welcome to this instructional video on English word order. What I'm going to try and do is explain to you what the SVOMPT rule is, because I think it's a very efficient and effective way to help understand how English sentences are built up. So let's have a look at the sentence that I've written down for you. It says, he bought this car quite quickly at the store yesterday. And the first thing to notice is that this is what we call a positive or affirmative sentence, because the word not is not in there, and that the sentence doesn't end with a question mark, so it's not a negative or a question sentence. But the SVOMPT rule, which I will explain later, also applies to these two kinds of sentences, although you're going to have to make some minor changes to what you're doing in order for it to be still SVOMPT proof, as I'd like to call it. So what I'm going to start off with is I've underlined the most basic chunks of the sentence so that we can, for each word, assign a letter in SVOMPT and then find out what these letters, what they stand for. So let me just start off that if the S is the first letter, then the first word in your sentence has to be that S. The second part of your sentence can consist of 1, 2, 3, 4, and perhaps even 5 different words, and the abbreviation for that is the V. I'll explain to you later what these are then. We have this car, which should be the O in SVOMPT. We have quite quickly, which is the M. At the store is the P, and yesterday is the T. So if we now go to what these letters, what they stand for, and what they mean exactly, then the first word in the sentence, probably the most important word, the S, it stands for subject. The V is the verbs. Like I said, this could be 5. The O is the object. Something is being done to this. So this car is bought. It's not buying itself, but it's being bought. And we have the M, which is the manner. Manner explains to you the manner in which something is done. So how was it bought? It was bought quite quickly, and it follows directly after the object. Then we have the P, which is place, and the T, which is time. Pretty straightforward. Now, another thing to remember, if you've built up your sentence like this, but you come to the conclusion that you have more than one place and more than one time expression, what do? We go from smaller information, more detailed information, to sort of the larger picture, the larger information that you have. So, for instance, if your sentence is, he bought this car quite quickly at the store in New York, you have two time expressions, or place expressions, at the store in New York. The store obviously is in New York, it makes it smaller, therefore more detailed, and that's why it's placed in front of the word in New York. Same goes for yesterday. You could say, I bought it at the store at 9 o'clock yesterday, or at 9 o'clock in the evening yesterday. So it's all from small to big. So that's how this is how it's built up. And what I've also done in the abbreviation SVOMPT, I've underlined the S and the V green. I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is green, which means that every English sentence needs to have at least a subject and a verb if it's a full correct sentence. So you cannot just say I, which is just a subject, or he, which is just a subject, but you're going to have to add at least a verb in order for it to make some sort of sense. Of course, there are exceptions to this, but you would have to say, hey, he was running, which is a subject, and then was running, which are the verbs, which makes it an SV sentence. So in other words, you don't always need all the letters in your sentence, but you can mix them up as long as you keep the sequence or the word order of these various chunks, you keep them the same. So in an affirmative sentence, you wouldn't start off with a verb. You would always start off with a subject. And don't get place and time mixed up, so don't add time before place, which wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. There is just one exception where you could place time in front of place, which is if you do it at the very beginning of the sentence. And the reason you would do this, for instance, you would say yesterday, comma, he bought this car quite quickly at the store. The only reason why you would do this is to emphasize the time expression, because you really want to tell this person that it was done yesterday. And a very good example of when this would be done is, for instance, when you're talking about a doctor's appointment that you might have. So someone would say, okay, so At 2 o'clock tomorrow is your doctor's appointment, so make sure you don't forget. So if you put it at the end of the sentence, it kind of gets lost in its meaning. So that's why people tend to put that in the beginning of the sentence. Okay, so that was swamped. There's so much more to this because you can also add adverbs of frequency, but that's something that we're going to be discussing a little bit later. But if your sentences are all swamped, so you start out with your subject, you continue on to your verbs, your object, your manner, place, and time, depending on what chunks you have in your sentence, then most of the time you should go right on these. So try to keep this in mind whenever you're writing. Go swamp to your head, know what the letters they stand for, and try to write according to this rule. Okay, thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, make sure you contact me. All right, bye-bye.